Hey there, welcome back to Reddit Relations, the best channel for Reddit cheating stories. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification for more stories like these. Now, let's get into the video.
Almost 2 years after, AP is back and I got police involved. Last year in May, 31 male, wife, 30 female, revealed that she was seeing another man that she met at her friend's B-day party in January. She said they just talked for most of the party and she didn't plan on seeing him again, but he got her number from her friend. She said that after numerous times he asked, she agreed to go out for coffee with him and nothing happened, so she continued seeing him until they ended up in his place and they ended up having sex. She continued to see him every other weekend and admitted she'd been to his place about 8 or 9 times. But before learning all that, I confronted her cause I saw she took a pregnancy test. She hid the box in the bottom of the garbage, but I always empty the bin upside down rather than changing the bag. BTW, I had a vasectomy. When I confronted her, she started crying and promised me she already ended the affair a few weeks ago. Kept crying she was sorry and she will do anything. It got to a point she started having an anxiety attack, and I just don't know why she would do that if she didn't want to ruin our marriage. I demanded proof she ended it and she showed me the last texts, which at least did confirm she did tell him she can't see him anymore. That night I got drunk as I was so enraged I wouldn't have been able to sleep. The next day she wouldn't leave my side, but I was angry and wanted space. I left to my dad's for about a month. In that time she called me every day, sent me poems and love emails. At the same time, I drove by our house to see if she was actually there and there was no other cars, so I still cared. Well, after a month apart I agreed to move back with her and start reconciliation, with some rules that she keeps a GPS app on her phone telling me where she is at all times. Extreme maybe, but she broke my trust and didn't know what else to do if we were going to fix this. She had no problems with anything and seemed nothing more than to want to fix this. 1 year later, I can say we've been closer than ever and I realized some of my own shortcomings, not to excuse what she did, but I think we reached a point where we are both happy and satisfied. Of course I will maybe always hold a grudge knowing that she had an affair, but when we are both happy I seem to be able to keep that grudge in the very back of my mind and just accept that what happened happened and it's best to not dwell on it. Now, last week she told me that he, AP, messaged her, asking how she was doing. She did not reply. He texted her again asking, "Miss me?" She told me about the texts and didn't reply to him. I got very angry that he was texting my wife and I already knew what he wanted. I texted him from my phone telling him to get lost. I used much harsher and semi-threatening words. He replied, "Oh really? Scared I'll plow your wife again?" She said you had a small d and all. I became so f***ing angry I threw my phone up against the wall. My wife is promising me she did not say that and that he's just angry that she doesn't want him. At this point I don't know what to believe. But I blocked his number. Then I got a message on Facebook from my non-contacts list. It was him using a burner account and he sent me a photo of my wife in what I'm guessing is his place and her on his couch. Then he sent me a video file which I knew I didn't want to see it, but I clicked it anyway and it was a video of her performing oral on him. I couldn't watch past a few seconds. I felt like I got hit by a f***ing train. I feel all the progress I made with my wife is back to square one. I can't look her in the eyes anymore without thinking about what she did. I knew that this happened before, but to actually see it I feel f***ing humiliated and emasculated. I called the cops on this guy and they are investigating him. They tell me he can be charged for defamation and harassment. I hate this guy. Everything was going so well. Yesterday morning I was getting up for work and after showering and getting dressed I broke down, crying like a f***ing baby and collapsing on the floor. My wife came to my aid and held me, but this is the same women who broke me. At this point I was enjoying what we had, before AP's messages came, but after what I saw I don't know how long it will take me to get over this. That grudge in my mind has gotten so much bigger and it may be unsustainable in this relationship. Need advice. Story 2. Father passed away recently. We found out about his infidelity days later. Last Tuesday, the 31st, my father suddenly passed away. It was a heart attack and by the time I got the call something was wrong. He was gone. Shortly after, the following Friday, we found out about a 10-year-long affair he was having. My mother caught him with this woman before, 2011-ish, she had found Facebook messages open on the computer. After a while she threatened to speak to a lawyer and get a divorce. But my father was apologetic and promised he would stop. That was the last we heard of it, approx 6 to 7 years ago. I didn't even know her name. He moved out mid-2020, saying he was going to go live with his brother surrounding a turbulent household environment. We believed him at the time because his brother had just had an emergency which could have killed him. Even though he moved out he would still come up and help around the house 3 to 4 times a week on average. At one point after he moved out my mom asked him if there was someone else and he said no, it's only ever been you. I was working with the extended family on his side to plan the services and make sure they had everything they needed to grieve properly. At one point, they wanted to add his mistress's name and family, her sons, daughters, grandsons, etc., to the obituary. When I said it was ridiculous to include a mistress's name and family in the obituary, was I wrong about that? My extended family told me to remove their names as well. They said that they'd rather have the obituary be about my father and they feel names are unimportant. Afterwards, I find that the extended family copy-pasted the text of the obituary onto Facebook, removing my mother's name and adding back their names and the mistress's name and family. They also put at the bottom that their family and the mistress's family are planning a celebration of life for my father, unbeknownst to me. It is at this point that I become enraged and feel lied to, telling them that I am refusing to attend services, which I am paying for in full, and mention that I wish to speak of it no longer because I want services to be about the good part of my father and not me or this affair. I say that I cannot be at the funeral with this woman, with the entire town and extended family that referred to my father as her boyfriend supporting her. Even outside of my own feelings and how sick I'd be in that situation, I didn't want to ruin the situation for others who were grieving by refusing to acknowledge this person and her family. I also can imagine the ceremony would immediately be ruined if I reminded everyone that my father was married and this woman was a part of a 10-year-long affair. Maybe some people didn't even know this was going on, they were all calling him her boyfriend. My uncle then tells me how sheltered I am, complete BS. Others in the extended family start reaching out and blaming me for why they have been distant all this time. Implying that I need to grow up and that everyone has flaws. Completely defending this woman and my father's actions, saying that everyone has flaws. I end the conversation there and say that I'm going to refuse to respond to them until services are over because I don't want things to devolve into a shouting match when we should be remembering the good parts of my dad. I really wanted to go to say goodbye to my dad, though now it's so complicated, I don't even know for sure if I feel that way anymore, but it really feels like the extended family has taken over this ceremony and made it all about the mistress's grief. I felt like I needed to stand up for my mom and my family. I don't know what's right or wrong anymore. Am I wrong to have withdrawn from services over this? Should I have just done what they asked and included her in the obituary /etc.? There's much stronger language that I want to use with my extended family, but I felt like it wasn't the time. A part of me wanted to cancel services entirely. He was cremated. I feel so manipulated and betrayed right now. I have been Googling "is cheating wrong" lately. It's how I found this subreddit. Update: thank you all for the support. I woke up today not feeling crazy for the first time since the confrontation about the obituary with my extended family. My immediate family, mother included, ended up not going to services, which concluded an hour ago. I still am intending on paying for it, but perhaps if I reached out here earlier you all might have convinced me to cancel the entire thing. There are some really good points in the comment section, though I still felt it was important to provide a space for those who weren't involved in this affair to grieve. My immediate family is still trying to piece together what was real and what wasn't. If we come to a conclusion and we find that there was still some good in my dad and he wasn't here purely for financial gain, we'll hold our own goodbye ceremony for my father with his ashes. Even if that's a few years from now. I will also commit to blocking my extended family and removing them from our lives. I still have a bunch of questions like why didn't he just divorce my mother many years ago, or even in 2020? My mom offered him the door many times and he rejected that. It'll be a while before I find an answer. I'm going to go rest for the first time since he died. If there are any charitable causes that I can contribute to for surviving infidelity, please let me know via DM or comments after this update. I'm reading everything. Even this small post was super helpful for me and I'd love to help ensure that others going through something similar can also find relief. Thanks again for the support, advice and sanity check.